Hi everyone, welcome to my video. I'm Harriet, and my Chinese name is Hou Xinyu. You can call me Harriet or Hou. Today, I will discuss my research on Monk Eastman from Borges, the history of the universal infamy, and why Borges wrote it in this way. Jorge Luis Borges is a famous Argentina novelist, translator, and poet. In a series of Borges works, it is not difficult to see that Borges is good at writing with the skills of fabrication and fantasy. It has a great influence on the development of magical realism. In his early literary works, he began to use the literary techniques of fabrication and fantasy. This video will focus on Borges' A Universal History of Infamy and its source text, Herbert's The Gangs of New York, an informal history of the underworld, comparing and analyzing the literary differences between them. So let's begin. My thesis of this research is that Borges used fabrication or fantasy and illusory description to strengthen the detailed description and make the characters more vivid. First of all, the two authors differ greatly in chapter names. In Herbert Asbury's Gangs of New York, the chapter about Monk Eastman's story is titled The Prince of the Gangsters. When the readers first see this topic, the first thing that comes to mind is the opposition between justice and evil. The word gangsters immediately reminds the reader of bad people who often do bad things. The word prince is often associated with justice. Readers can think about the contradiction between justice and evil when they see this topic. But Borges' title was Purveyor of Iniquities. This reminds the readers of demons and sins. The readers will see Monk Eastman as an absolutely bad man. In Borges' fantasy, Monk Eastman was the devil, the sin, the embodiment of fear. But in Herbert Asbury's book, Monk Eastman goes from gangster to hero with an identity shift. Borges' Monk Eastman was always the bad guy. This is the first and true description he used. In Herbert Asbury's Gangs of New York, Monk Eastman's relationship with pigeons is described as Eastman always walking with the pigeons on the shoulders. And in Borges' book, he adds a metaphorical description of pigeons. He describes Eastman and the pigeon like a bull with a cowbird on its rump. This metaphor is an imaginary description of Borges, showing the contrast between Eastman and his pigeon. This description highlights Eastman's size and pigeon's smallness. It's very graphic. The cowbird is a notorious bird known for its selfishness because it lays its egg in other birds' nests. Borges compared Eastman's pigeon to a swallow cowbird to show that Eastman's pet was just as sinful as Eastman's. It also shows the precision of Borges' words, choose cowbird rather than dove. The cowbird's behavior fits Monk Eastman's as a gangster. Borges' fictional metaphor gives readers a vivid understanding of Eastman's character. Herbert Asbury described the Battle of Rivington in the New York Gang as a clash that resulted in 3 dead and 7 wounded upon the field, and 20 captured. Borges, on the other hand, wrote about the result of the conflict as 4 corpses and 1 dead pigeon. The pigeon is a figment of Borges. It's not in the source text. The pigeon here mainly reflects Borges' detailed description. As Daniel Balderston commented, the inclusion of the pigeon reminded people of Eastman's tenderness for pigeons, and in the previous article, Eastman's pigeon accompanied Eastman everywhere. This fictional addition shows Borges' attention to detail and his understanding of Eastman's character. At the beginning of the 20th century, the development of film and film color also contributed to Borges' detailed description of visual sense. In Herbert Asbury's text, Monk Eastman's death occurred on the morning of December 26, but in Borges' text, he omitted much of the text and changed the actual date to December 25. This rewrite emphasizes that Monk Eastman died on Christmas Day. At the same time, Borges fabricates a wild cat. The feral cat hovered around Monk Eastman's body. This echoes Eastman's love of cats and pigeons in the previous article. As stated by Daniel Balderston, the fabrication shows Eastman's cat accompanying him until the death. The cat's loyalty to Eastman echoes Eastman's eventual transformation into a hero. It also shows the insignificance of human life. The most successful life will also end because of the end of human life. As you can see on the bottom of this page, this is Borges' price list for Monk Eastman's work as a gangster in A Universal History of Infamy. In fact, the price list was for members of Eastman's rival gang, the Wiles gang. This price list is untrue. Borges rewrote Wiles gang's price list into Eastman's price list. This shows Eastman's human weakness. Eastman covets wealth, power, and fame. Overall, Borges' Universal History of Infamy has many changes and additions. It highlights Borges' control of details and understanding of characters. It also shows Borges' fabrication skills in his early literary work. Okay, that's all for this video. Thank you for your attention.